Hi, I'm Herb Milhorn, and we're going to take you on a video tour of some of the beautiful Idaho backcountry airstrips. And we're going to start here at Johnson Creek. It's a beautiful, nice, manicured, really elegant runway, and it's kind of Idaho's premier fly-in camping area. But before we start this tour, I want to caution all of the people that watch this video, or all of the people that fly this country, that this is a big, beautiful country with a lot of nice airstrips in it. But don't come in here unless you're very competent at doing it. This isn't going to be an instructional video, and it shouldn't be used as such. I'm not an instructor. I'm just a private pilot that's flown this area for several years, and I enjoy flying in here, and I hope you enjoy the tour that we take you on. But before you do come in, if you do come in here, please receive proper and adequate training from a mountain flying schools. There's lots of them around, and those people will teach you how to do this and do it right. As we fly along and land at some of these places, I'll talk about some of the approaches and some of the techniques that I use, but it's just the things that I do, you know, and there again, I'm not an instructor, so it's just kind of an ad hoc, enjoyable flying tour that we'll try and take you on. And after we leave this Johnson Creek area, we'll start taking you to different areas and progressively more difficult strips, and some of them are very difficult strips that normally aren't used. But here at Johnson Creek, it's kind of a good place to start. There's a nice open valley to approach from the downriver side and approach up Johnson Creek. It's a beautiful wide airstrip, and the camping facility has just everything. There's picnic tables and little fire pits and barbecue pits and cabins to stay in if it's raining, and little beach down along the river where the kids can play in the water. It's just a very, very beautiful place, and it's used by a lot of people. There's a lot of airplanes come in here, and it's a fun place to go. And after we take off from here, we'll start taking you to a lot more fun places. I hope you enjoy the tour. We're going to leave Johnson Creek now and take you to Big Creek. It's it's probably about 20 miles this way. It's another nice, big, large airstrip. It's located kind of on the upper end of Big Creek, the Big Creek Lodge, and I think there's another lodge or two in there. But I've eaten several times at the Big Creek Lodge, and it serves fantastic meals. We'll go down there and get a bite of breakfast and kind of show you around that area a little bit. It's a nice, big, safe mountain airstrip. It's a lot of fun to go there, and it's just another nice trip. Come on board. We're going to get ready to take off here pretty soon. The first thing we want to do is make sure that we have very adequately pre-flighted the aircraft. We want this to be not just a fun day, we want it to be a very, very safe fun day. We'll taxi up to the end of the airstrip. When we get there, we'll go through our checklist, make sure that we're ready to go and everything is set, and we'll take off. And this time the winds favor taking off downriver, and we will head for Big Creek. This is a weekday that we're in here, and it's kind of unusual. There's no other aircraft in here, at least very few. On the weekends you expect to see a lot of airplanes in here, a lot of activity. There's a lot of people that come in here and camp on the weekends and enjoy this place. And as we take off now, we'll head downriver, and we'll try to point out the little town of Yellow Pine as we go by. You'll notice now that we probably won't use up very much runway, and it might be important to note that for the rest of this video there will be just Kevin and I in this airplane. We'll be carrying a pretty light load. It's planned that way because some of the strips that we're going to go to are pretty tough strips. We don't want to carry a heavy load in and out of them. We're taking off now, heading into the east. As you'll see, the sun is just starting to come up, and there's going to be a good reason for that. As time goes by, you'll see how important it is that we do get an early start, so that when we get down into the mountains, we're down in there when the air is still cool and stable and the flying is safe. There, I believe that's the little town of Yellow Pine that just came into view in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. It's a cute little town. Not a whole lot goes on there, but I think it's a fun town and a lot of friendly people down there. We're getting close to Big Creek now, and as you can see, the fires are pretty active in here this summer. They've burned a lot of this area. It seems like every year there's a tremendous amount of fire damage that goes on in here. We all hate to see that, but maybe it's part of the natural sequence of events. We're flying by now, kind of checking the airstrip over, and as you can see, there's yellow X's on the airstrip. And we checked before we came in here, and we were informed that the Big Creek airstrip is closed due to the fires that are burning in here. Because the airstrip is closed, we're not obviously going to be able to get in there. And so we're going to have to show you some video of when Kevin and I were in there a little bit earlier this spring. You're going to see that the scenery is a little bit different from the spring than it is here in late August. It will be a nice change though, because you're also going to see the difference in the airstrips. Unlike now, when you've got dust and smoke to contend with, early in the spring, as you will see, you're going to have mud to contend with on some of these airstrips. As you can see from the airplane that just lit here, there's the mud that we were talking about, the mud that's flying off of these tires. It's a good thing to note that in the spring, a lot of these airstrips are soft, and when they're soft, they're slick. And slick airstrips are hard to land on. So it's just something else to have in the back of your mind and to be careful about. We've parked the airplanes now, and there's a fairly large group of us in here, as you can see, and we're going to walk down to the Big Creek Lodge. Hopefully they've got breakfast ready for us down there. It's an excellent place to eat. They've got some rooms upstairs in this lodge, and they've also got some cabins around back and off to the side that you can stay in. It's a nice place to come and eat on a Sunday morning or any other time that you can get in here. We're departing Big Creek now. We're taking off downriver, and we're going to fly down Big Creek to the middle fork of the Salmon. Then we'll turn up the middle fork of the Salmon up to the Flying Bee Ranch. And as we fly down Big Creek, we're going to try to show you some of the airstrips that we will bring you into later on. As we fly by them, we'll try and let you have a fairly decent look at them so you can kind of get accustomed to them or to seeing them, and you can see what we're going to be landing on later on in the film. It's a little bit hard to see it, but we'll get into a lot more definition later on. But this is the Dewey Moore airstrip that we're flying over right now. And in just a minute or so, we'll come up on the Mile High airstrip, and we'll let you take a look at it also. And this is the Mile High airstrip right here. It's pretty hard to tell what you're looking at just on a flyby, but later on we'll get into a lot more detail of it. We're overflying vines now, and we'll be back here later on in the video, but we'll kind of take you by and let you look at it, kind of see where it lays. It's a nice little airstrip, kind of nestled in along Big Creek. We'll fly on past here and we'll take you on down and let you look at Cabin Creek airstrip. This is the Cabin Creek airstrip. It lays only a short distance from Big Creek. Lays up the little creek called Cabin Creek, about half a mile or mile. This is the Soldier Bar airstrip, and this is a real good opportunity for everybody to see that this is not a nice straight airstrip. Later on I'll talk about it having kind of a banana shape. Now is a good chance for you to get a good overview of that and see that it is kind of a crooked airstrip. This gives you a good look at the middle fork of the Salmon River. We've come down Big Creek to its confluence with the middle fork. Now we're headed up the middle fork. It's very unfortunate that there's been kind of a freak summer storm go on in here and turned this river almost a chocolate brown. Usually this river is a pristine, crystal clear river, but as you can see, this time we just kind of got caught with the odds, and we're in here right after a thunderstorm and the water is muddy and off color. This is the Flying Bee airstrip. We've called ahead to make arrangements to land here, and they've allowed us to do that. We've circled around and looked everything over and determined that the wind favors landing upstream. So we're going to fly down the Middle Fork Canyon, a very safe distance, get turned around, get all lined up, make a real nice, gradual, safe approach into the Flying Bee Ranch. This is the Bernard airstrip right on our lower right, and we'll fly right past that, and you can see the Flying Bee airstrip. It's easy to tell when you're coming up on the Flying Bee Ranch. It's kind of a green oasis in the middle of a pretty dry area this time of the year. That's due to the fact that the folks that own the Flying Bee do a lot of watering, irrigating down in here, and they actually cut hay off of these meadows and keep a pretty good herd of livestock in here all during the spring, summer, fall, and part of the way into the winter time. After you land at the B, they do have a limousine service that will come down to your airplane and pick you up and take you back up to the main lodge. The limousine is very comfortable. It's not necessarily air conditioned and not necessarily dust free, but it certainly gets you there. We're coming up now on the main lodge, and as you can see, this is not a real small establishment. The Flying Bee Ranch consists of well over 100 acres nestled in here along the river with 2 or 3 real nice meadows and some real nice facilities. This is the Flying Bee Ranch. It's a private establishment. We've lit on their airstrip down there. And it is also a private airstrip. They are open to the public. I think before you land on their airstrip that you're supposed to call Flying Resort Ranches in Salmon, Idaho, and make accommodations and get permission to use their airstrip and their other facilities. But once you get here, there's a beautiful lodge and several cabins. I think there's about 15 cabins. There's the friendliest people in the world. They rent horses. There's a lodge to eat in. There's just a little bit of everything goes on here. You can make a lot of trips out of here. It's all for fishing, hunting, just packing, hiking in general. There's little mountain lakes around. And they've got an adequate number of horses, 40 or 50 head. And they'll set you up with them. You can go out for day rides or 2 days or whatever and just kind of see the country. It's a pretty place. The river's just right down here, just 40 or 50 yards. There's a nice beach down there that you can swim on. And if you can make arrangements to get one of the cabins are beautiful little cabins. You've got your own little wood stove in them, and each one of them has 3 or 4 beds in it. It's just a nice place to come. It's a good family type place. There's a lot of little kids around. Everybody has a good time. It's just another one of our nice Idaho treats. This is a memorial that was built to honor the people that stayed in here during the fire of August 2000. It was a huge fire, and as you can see by the names on the bottom of that plaque, there was a lot of people that stayed in here, and they did indeed risk their life to help save this ranch, and they did save it. Most of the ranches in these areas and resorts in these areas went up in smoke. It was a huge fire. But these people managed to save this, all except 1 or 2, I think they lost 2 cabins, a hay shed, a few little things. What did almost as much damage in here as the fire was the wind that came with that fire, or the firestorm. It blew roofs off of some of the buildings, it blew trees down, and in a couple of minutes we'll walk down to the bridge that crosses the middle fork of the Salmon, and we'll look at it, and I'll kind of explain on film what it actually did to that bridge. When we were up at the burn monument, or the fire monument, I spoke briefly about the firestorm, the wind that come through here, and what it did to some of the structures around here. This is a pretty good, pretty big, pretty sizable footbridge. And after the windstorm quieted down, and you could see what was left of things, this bridge has been moved from here over to here. That's where the bridge then lived. And the next year it was still serviceable. You could sort of use it, but that's where it was. And then the next year the Forest Service came in and rebuilt it and put it back where it belongs, and it's back. It's in good shape now, but that just kind of gives you an idea of the tremendous power of the wind and that firestorm, and to think that these people stayed in here through that to protect this is one of those deals where, in my hat's off to them. Okay, we've made it back down to the airstrip now, and I'll talk briefly, Kevin, about the approach in here and the departure. It's a nice airstrip. It lays right in the bottom, right on the middle fork of the Salmon. Whether you approach from downriver or approach from up the river, you're going to be approaching and departing right over the river. So there's always, especially if it's warm out, the potential for sinking air right over that river. The river's cold. Other than that, it's a fairly standard mountain type approach, one to have a lot of respect for. Be very careful of it. The canyon, if you're approaching upriver, the canyon is real narrow, and in order to be down low enough to make a safe approach, you're going to be right down in the canyon, right down in the rocks. Bernard Airstrip is just down the river a quarter of a mile. That's a good landmark. When you come past Bernard, you know that you want to be about so high, whatever you calculated, to make a proper landing in here. If you're approaching downriver, then you just kind of have to pick your spot, make a careful approach. Downriver, you've got some pretty high hills to contend with up there, but it's still, for a mountain strip, it's probably on the high end of the moderate scale for difficulty, but it's a very doable strip, and it's a fairly long strip. I'm not sure of the length, something I think over 2,000 feet, and the elevation is about 3,800, so it's a nice, relatively safe airstrip. We've determined that the wind favors an upriver takeoff here, so we're going to take off up the Salmon River, which is actually heading south. We're going to take off and head up towards Lower Loon Creek. That's another little airstrip on up the river about 10 miles. And we'll overfly that one and some other airstrips on our way to Sulphur Creek. As we fly over these airstrips, we'll try and point them out to you and let you become a little bit familiar with what goes on down there. We're overflying Lower Loon Creek airstrip now, and we'll try and zoom in and show you some more of the rafters that are beached down there, getting ready to head back down the river. Here you see some more of the people that frequently use this wilderness area. That's the rafters. Every year there's a tremendous amount of rafters that float down through here and enjoy this river. There you can see the Mahoney airstrip. It's situated on a mountainside there. Kind of a favorite place for people that want to do a lot of hunting in the fall. There's a lot of hunting activity goes on in here. It's a fairly long, fairly gradual airstrip, all kind of upgrade. Down below us you see what used to be the Middle Fork Ranch. I think that it has subsequently sold, and I'm not certain who the new owners are. The ranch is normally serviced by the Thomas Creek airstrip, which you can see in the upper left-hand corner of the screen right now. This is the Indian Creek airstrip. It's a very large airstrip, and it's a real popular spot for floaters to be dropped off at, and they begin their floating journey here. Some of the commercial operators fly them in here, and as you can see, this area was hit very, very hard by the fire of 2000. And it's kind of a personal thing to me. I hate to see this area burnt so hard. I've got a lot of pictures of this area in the mid-1960s. My father and I used to fly in here. We'd hire a charter service out of McCall to bring us in here, and it certainly looked a lot different then than it does now. This is the Pistol Creek airstrip, and there's quite a little establishment down there, but like Indian Creek, it was ravaged by the 2000 fire, and most of the houses that were down there burnt out, and now you can see that they're starting to rebuild again and starting to bring it back to what it was before the fire came through. In the lower central part of your screen now you can see the Morgan airstrip. It's a private airfield. And in the upper right hand corner you can just start to see the Sulphur Creek airstrip come into view. And that's where we're headed. We'll fly up there and circle around the Sulphur Creek airstrip and get prepared to land there. In the lower part of the screen you can see the fish pond at Sulphur Creek. That kind of sets Sulphur Creek apart from any other airstrips in the area. It's got a big fish pond that makes it real easy to determine that this is Sulphur Creek. Alright, this is the Sulphur Creek airstrip, and as you can see by the sign, this is the Chateau Relaxo. It's kind of an enticing name, an inviting sound, and it's an inviting airstrip. The middle fork of the Salmon River is just downstream, about half a mile. That's where your approach is made, down over the middle fork. Then you turn up Sulphur Creek. Don't mistake Sulphur Creek airstrip for the Morgan airstrip that lies closer to the Salmon. That one's a private airstrip. Sulphur Creek's a beautiful airstrip. It's long, it's big, it's high altitude, but please respect it like any mountain airstrip. Even though they're long and smooth, they can cost you your life if you're not careful with them. Circle the airstrip, make sure there's no critters on the strip, no objects, everything looks right. Make sure the wind is in your favor and proper, the temperature isn't too hot, and that you calculated the density altitude. That way your stay at Sulphur Creek will be a pleasant experience. And it is. It's a very pleasant place. It's got a big, huge fish pond. That fish pond, I guess, is here and free to the guests that stay here. We were just down and throwing a few grasshoppers in there. There is big fish in there. So if you've got little kids, it looks to me like an ideal place to bring them. And on across the meadow, quarter of a mile or less, is Sulphur Creek itself. This time of the year it's got a lot of spawning salmon in it, and they're big salmon, 2-3 feet long. It's quite a sight to see them in there. And this is just a genuine pretty place. They've got cabins that you can stay in. They've got power, all the amenities, horses to rent. I think you can do about anything in here. It's really an enjoyable place. Have a nice time. Below us now is the town of Dixie, and in the center part of the screen you can see the airstrip at Dixie. Looks almost like the main road, but it's not. It's actually the airstrip. The town of Dixie actually lays just outside the boundaries of the wilderness area, and when we're camped in the wilderness, Dixie is one of our favorite fly-out spots for breakfast or for lunch. A lot of people fly in here and land just for that purpose. Kevin does quite a lot of wildlife photography, but from the looks of the bug that just appeared on the window, I think maybe he does a little bit of dead life photography too. This is the town of Dixie. It's not a very big town. It's a real nice, pretty little mountain town located just, it's probably 5-6 miles north of the main Salmon River and about 5 miles from the Forest Service Dixie airstrip. Pretty little place, inhabited by about, I think, 6 people in the winter, and probably not too many more than that right now. It's got a nice little restaurant. It's a nice airstrip. It's not to be confused with the main street of town, although it's kind of hard to tell them apart. You approach normally from the south, land to the north. That's a typical mountain approach. It's kind of blind coming in, but it's a nice long airstrip. Somewhere around 5,000 foot elevation. It's a good place to stop, have breakfast, bring your family, enjoy the sights, walk around town, see what an old 1920s mining town looks like. Just a pretty place to go. We're departing Dixie now, and we're going to head kind of downhill. We're going to go down to the main stem of the salmon and go down to Wilson Bar. It's one of the pristine little airstrips on the main stem of the salmon that has some really nice accommodations for camping. We've overflown Wilson Bar, and now we're down to Mackey Bar. It's about a half a mile downstream from Wilson Bar, and it's located at the confluence of the main salmon and the South Fork of the Salmon River. Mackey Bar is a private facility, and you can stay there, get jet boat trips out of there, all by reservation and contacting these people. And after we fly over this, then we'll head back upriver and check out the Wilson Bar airstrip and make sure that everything looks like we can land there, and we'll make an approach to it. Well, we've finished circling the Wilson Bar airstrip. We've determined that there's no obstacles in the way and it's going to be safe to land. The wind is very favorable, so we're going to go up the Salmon River a very safe distance and get all lined up. Then we'll come down the Salmon River and land at Wilson Bar. Wilson Bar, located on the main Salmon River. Normally it's just beautiful, crystal clear water. Not so right now, but it'll clear back up and return to what it's supposed to be. This is the camping area at Wilson Bar, and as you can see, you can drive your airplane almost right down to where your campsite is. Makes it real handy. There's a nice sandy little beach just down over the hill here where the kids can kind of play in the river. Talk briefly about the approach into Wilson Bar. Of course, you make your downwind upriver on the other side and get up the river sufficiently far so that you've got lots of room to work with, and have a spot picked out, or this is how I do it. I have a spot picked out along the shoreline somewhere so that when I come downriver, I know that at that spot that I picked out, I'm going to be a certain altitude. And that'll set me up for landing here. It's an interesting approach. It's a fun approach. But be advised, it is completely blind. You don't see the airstrip until you're about a quarter of a mile from it, and you're right over the river, where if it's starting to get warm, there will be a little bit of sinking air. But it's an interesting approach, fun place to go. It's right by the river. For those that are competent to come in here, it's an enjoyable time. We're going to take off from Wilson Bar now, and we're going to be en route to Cabin Creek. But on the way, we'll try and show you some of the scenic views of the Salmon River. We'll kind of weave up and down the river a little bit, let you have a look at some of the canyons and some of the surrounding hills around us. This is the Cabin Creek airstrip, and it's an airstrip that receives quite a lot of use, really. There is, as you can see, a fairly large hunting camp down there now. There's a lot of hunting people in here in the fall, a lot of fishermen in here all summer, a lot of hikers, a lot of just the general public coming in to enjoy themselves in here. And it's going to be interesting when we're on final approach and quite close to landing or touching down in here. Even though this airstrip gets so much use, these airplanes do so little damage and leave such a light footprint that when we're on final approach, you're probably going to have a very difficult time telling where the airstrip actually is. Right here you can see the blinding effects of the morning sun, and that's something that you always want to have in the back of your mind when you're flying around these mountains in the morning. You can turn and be suddenly blinded by the morning sun, so always kind of be aware of that. Cabin Creek, and as you can see by the shadows still around on the mountains, it's still pretty early in the morning. The sun hasn't come up down here yet, and there's a good reason for that. When you fly these areas and these mountain airstrips, they're usable only at daylight in the morning when the air is real still and real stable and the wind is real predictable. Later on in the day, you just don't come into these places. It becomes very, very dangerous. This Cabin Creek area is a pretty place. There's a little creek down over here that flows right into Big Creek, which is down in the canyon. A word of caution on this airstrip: if you are competent to come in here, there is absolutely no go-around potential at the Cabin Creek airstrip. Once you turn out of the Big Creek Canyon and head up in here, there's no way to get out other than to land. In the early history in here, there was quite a establishment. I think down at the end of the airstrip, there was numerous cabins. There was, I think, a post office and a little store, and several settlers lived in here. There's a lot of history attached in here, and there isn't much left in here now. I think the Forest Service has kind of returned it to pretty much to its primitive state. There's a couple of little cabins down there, but this is a popular spot for fishermen and for hunters in the fall. There's a lot of sport type activities go on in here. It's just another one of our pretty places to go. Yeah, Kevin, you can see that we've got another airplane coming in, and you can see that he's circling the airstrip now, looking everything over, making sure that everything meets his approval, that everything looks right. And he'll come around, he'll look everything over, check the windsock, make sure there's no animals in the airstrip, no airplanes stuck in the middle of it. And then we're going to assume that he's going to come down the canyon, turn, come back up the canyon, and come in. That's how most people come in here. It's just typical mountain airstrip. Everybody has to design their own very safe way of doing it. And that's what it's all about, is safety, how to do it safely. Now you can see that he's made sure that he's plenty low, that he's going to make the airstrip not be too high and too fast. You can hear him add a little bit of power and stretch his glide out. And he's coming in here real safe, nice, fast. The little black strips that you see going diagonally across the airstrip in front of us are not anything to be alarmed about. They're not an obstacle. They're actually an erosion control strip that the local pilots associations put into some of these airstrips. It keeps the water from running down the airstrip and keeps that water channeled off to the side. So they actually perform a very advantageous purpose. We're going to take off from Cabin Creek now, and as we start our takeoff roll, you'll hear the erosion strips that I spoke about. You'll hear them kind of go thump, thump under the airplane as we roll down over them. And after we take off, we're going to head for Soldier Bar next. But first, I think we'll swing to the right and head up Big Creek a little bit and kind of take a look around up there and look over Vine Ranch or Vines. And then we'll turn downstream and go down to the Soldier Bar airstrip. This is the Soldier Bar airstrip, and here again you can see some of the tremendous damage caused by the 2000 fire. You can see it all over the hillside just above the airstrip. But anyway, we're going to fly over the airstrip, circle around, check the windsock, check the airstrip, then we'll go downriver and get set up, get lined up, and make an approach to Soldier Bar. Soldier Bar. It was named this after the soldier here who has a monument. He was killed here in 1879 fighting the Sheep Eater Indians, so it says on the monument. It's a pretty little airstrip. It's certainly not a beginner's airstrip. As you can see, it's kind of banana shaped. It's got several valleys, if you want to call them that, in it. And it's right into the face of a cliff or a plateau. So when you make your approach from downriver, you come upriver to land, if it's at all hot or the air's at all unstable, then you can hit a sinker right here at the end of the airstrip, and that ruins your day and maybe several more of them. There's not a lot to do in here unless you like to hike and fish. There's a beautiful place to camp right down over here. There's water there. There's a nice cold little stream. A lot of people camp at the upper end of the strip. It's kind of a dry camp up there. It's about, probably if you walk fairly fast, maybe 25 minutes or a half hour's walk down to Big Creek. There's good fishing down there. There's not a lot else to do, but it is a pretty place to stop. It's a nice place to camp and spend a couple of days. We're on our takeoff roll from Soldier Bar now, and again you can see the erosion control strips that the Pilots Association's put in here. And after we take off from here, we're going to go down river, make a turnaround, head back up Big Creek, and we're going to take you back up to Vines. We'll land there because Vines is a real nice camping spot. It's located right on Big Creek, which affords both camping and a chance to go down and play in the creek. We're going to overfly Vines now, and because it's a short airstrip, we're going to be real careful to make sure that there's no obstructions in the airstrip and that the winds are very, very calm. And after we've looked it over and determined that, we'll go downstream and get set up for our approach. Talk a little bit about this. This is Vine Ranch, or Vines, whatever you want to call it. And this airstrip is like all the rest of these mountain strips. Don't come in here into any of these mountain strips unless you're an extremely seasoned, experienced mountain pilot. If you're not, go to McCall or Salmon or some other place and hire somebody to give you some experience in here. Get up to speed, be proficient. Then it's fun, not fatal. But this airstrip is about roughly 1,000 feet long. The approach is made from downriver, upriver. Landing is made going upriver. And like all these airstrips, you want to know without question that the air is stable and that there's either no wind or very, very little wind. I won't come in here if I think there's a 5-knot wind. The air is just not stable enough. This airstrip does have a go-around potential, although it's not real good. When you're on final approach, you can still make a go-around. You can wiggle your way up the canyon and get out of here. But when you're on final, you want to have your airspeed down right all the way in, whatever your proper approach airspeed is. It's just a real rough airstrip. It's got a lot of squirrel holes in it. It's real uneven. Expect to do a lot of bouncing. It's a dusty, rocky strip. It's not really sod, but it's a good hard surface. It's a nice little airstrip. It's a beautiful spot to come. It's a beautiful spot to enjoy. Again, that's why we have these wilderness areas, so we can all enjoy them. But the best situation is be proficient enough so that you can hit your spot within 50 feet, one way or the other. And as you can see, Kevin and I have come in here and we've lit in here, and there's been a lot of airplanes use this airstrip already this year. I've been in here numerous times. And you can see by the looks of the airstrip that the footprint that the airplanes and the airplane campers and users leave is really a very, very small and very light footprint. the airplane people and the airplane industry is a real user-friendly industry and group of people for these wilderness areas. They get a lot of good out of it. A lot of kids come in here. A lot of people come in here. A lot of people get a lot of good out of this area. Again, that's why we've got these areas. And the airplanes are not disturbing it. You can see from the looks of this airstrip. We'll talk a little bit about the camping area in here. Of course, we're at Vines, or Vine Ranch, whatever you want to call it. The river's just right there. It's called Big Creek, and it's a very, very big creek. It's only about 100 feet away. It's a beautiful little camping area. A lot of people use it, particularly sportsmen, hunters in the fall, fishermen all summer, hikers, people on horseback. Of course, the airplane's parked up there. You carry your stuff right down here. There's a nice little fire pit, tree to hang your lantern in, lots of nice level spots to put your tent. It's really a pretty little area. It's shady in here all day long. We're close enough to the river. It stays cool all day long. If you look across the creek, Kevin, you'll see a man and his dog hiking through there right now. Just walk behind that tree. A lot of people use these areas in here. That's what we have them for. Kevin, about how these airstrips came to be and what they were. And please bear in mind, I'm not an Idaho authority on history, but I've read a little bit about it and kind of have a general idea of what went on. These airstrips aren't natural airstrips. They were built, probably 40 years ago, 50 years ago. There was an old tractor, a dozer. It was a D7 that now is buried down the creek about 5 miles. Forest Service buried it at Cabin Creek. That was the cat, the dozer, that made most of these airstrips, like this one. There's also, and we'll take a look at it as we go by, there's an old horse-drawn Fresno up behind a tree up here. They used that also to move dirt around. So these aren't just natural airstrips. These airstrips have been built many years ago, and they've been preserved for the use of the public and for emergency use. They're tremendously valuable airstrips for emergency use in here. That's kind of how they came to be. Okay, Kevin, when I was down at the other end of the airstrip, I spoke briefly about a Fresno to help build these airstrips in here. And this is a Fresno. It's a fairly small one, but it's the antique version of an earth mover. Rather than big, huge tractors and things like that, this was basically a bucket that was pulled by one or more horses. The horses were hooked to a harness, came out on this end. The horses were out there. The man walked behind it, held on to this handle back here. And when he wanted to dig dirt, he raised the handle up a little bit. That lowered this cutting edge, and it scraped itself full of dirt as the horses drug it along. And the man would pull the handle down a little bit, and the horse would just kind of walk along, and you could carry this dirt to some other area. And when you got to where you wanted to unload the dirt that was in here, you raised this handle way up, and the bucket rotated up on these skids here, and it dumped its load of dirt. So therefore, the old-time version of an earth mover, and they called them a Fresno. And I'm sure that this Fresno probably did a lot of the work in here. It's hard to say. It's been in here as long as I've been coming in. It's kind of an antique now, kind of a historical monument. Okay, this is another one of the camping areas in here. It's up elevated just a little bit off the strip. It's kind of nice because you can hear the river a little bit better. You can see the airplane and the other campsite down in there. This is kind of a favorite little camp spot for a lot of the hunters and sportsmen in the fall. A lot of the backpackers that come through here like to camp up here. It's a real pretty little area, and again, it's got our all-day shade in here. This goes to the river. Sounds nice. We're going to take off from Vines now, and we're going to fly back down Big Creek. We'll fly back over Cabin Creek and Soldier Bar. Then we'll turn up the Middle Fork of the Salmon. We'll fly over the Flying Bee again, and we're going to land at Lower Loon Creek. It's an airstrip that we showed you earlier in this film. And it's a strip that's located also right on the Salmon River, and it's one with a rather unique attribute to it, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. Yeah, this is the Lower Loon Creek airstrip. It's a nice little airstrip. It's short, it's high altitude. It's between 800 and 900 feet. Elevation's approximately 4,000 feet. It's an approach that's made upstream, coming up the middle fork of the salmon. You come up the other side of the salmon, or right over the salmon, and land heading up this way. The airstrip does have a little bit of an uphill angle at the end of it. As I said, it's short, it's not a beginner's airstrip. There's no go-around potential, as is the case in most all of these mountain airstrips. Once you commit, you're pretty well committed. It's a pretty place, green meadows, a kind of an interesting thing to do here is it's about a half a mile walk from here up to a handmade hot springs. I think that maybe the CCC cores in the 30s, maybe those gentlemen made it. They hand hewed a bunch of logs and formed them into a hot springs, a hot tub. It's right on Loon Creek. That hot spring tub is probably 4 feet wide and maybe 10, 12, 15 feet long. And there's a natural hot springs there. They pipe that water into that hot springs or into the hot tub, and unlike a lot of the hot springs that are real strong, sulfury smelling, this one's really nice. It's really clean, it's really pretty. If you happen to be a rafter and you're floating in that cold river, I suspect that hot tub feels pretty nice. It's just a pretty place. It's a nice little walk. It's just a pretty place to go, Kevin. It's a nice place to come and just spend a few hours. We're going to take off now from Lower Loon Creek, and we're going to head down the Salmon and then up Big Creek, and we're going to take you to the Dewey Moore airstrip. Below us you can see the Dewey Moore airstrip. It's a short airstrip, so we're going to be very careful, and we're going to fly downriver after we look the airstrip over and assured ourselves that everything's right. We'll fly back down the river and get set up for an approach, and on our way into the approach into this airstrip you'll see a lot of the evidence again of the fire that came through here and so badly ravaged this country. It'll be interesting to note some of these trees that stick up on the hillsides, how they're just basically stick matches where it used to be a beautiful forest. Maybe we're being a little bit extra cautious here, but caution and safety are the name of the game back in these mountains. And I think this is our third turn around Dewey Moore, checking it over, looking everything over, and now we finally determined that, okay, hey, the strip is in good shape and there is no wind down there, so we can go ahead and get set up for our approach procedures. This is the Dewey Moore airstrip. It's a fairly popular airstrip with hunters in the fall and fishermen in the spring, and actually all summer long. In fact, this airstrip offers fly fishermen kind of a paradise. There's some of the best fly fishing in this area to be found here at Dewey Moore. There's a nice spot to camp. There's a nice little spring up at the head of the airstrip, and a nice place to pitch your tent up there. And if you want to camp down closer to the river, there's a big flat area down by the river. Lots of area to camp in. There's usually some horse packers coming through here. A lot of people hike through this area. It's just a nice pretty spot to spend a couple of days. We're going to depart now from Dewey Moore. It's going to be a downhill takeoff, of course, because it's an uphill airstrip. We'll take off downhill and we'll turn downstream, go down Big Creek, then we'll start climbing and we'll take you up to Mile High Airstrip, and that'll be the last airstrip that we'll be able to take you to on this video. This is the Mile High Airstrip, and we're going to make several passes circling around in here, looking this airstrip over. It's a short uphill airstrip and it's fairly high altitude, so we're going to be extra cautious. We're going to know that the airstrip is in good, usable condition, and we're also going to be 100% certain that the winds are very, very favorable. And once we've determined all that, then we'll make our final approach and we'll set up and land and take you into Mile High. Welcome to the Mile High Airstrip. In my opinion, This is Idaho's most beautiful airstrip. It's located on the top of a mountain, and the scenery from up here is rivaled by no other airstrip in the state. We're soon going to be to the end of our video. I hope you've enjoyed touring with us, and I hope that you can join with us to help ensure that these airstrips stay open to the public, not just for our generation, but for future generations to enjoy just as we have. Thank you.